Afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I am Kim Brown Harden here with the Indiana State Library. I have a special guest today, Lisa Kangany of Purdue Extension. She can tell you a little bit more about her background and what she does, but we want to thank you again for attending the Ask an Expert webinar. How do I know if I'm stressed? I told Lisa this comes at a perfect time right before the holidays. So now I'm going to turn the mic over to Lisa.
Thank you, Kim. I'm very happy to be here this afternoon. As Kim said, I work for Purdue Extension, and I work out of the Boone County office, and we have extension offices in every county in the state. And I'm an extension educator, and my specialty is health and human sciences. So I provide programming to the community with basically family well-being issues is kind of the general idea of the programming that I do. So I guess we're ready to get started?
We are ready. But before we get started, sorry,
That's
Lisa.
okay.
Before we get started, I wanted to start today's session off with just a little short poll here, short quiz. So if you will indulge me for a few seconds and let me show you our current poll. Our first question today is, are you currently stressed? I see a lot of different responses out there. Thank you all. And then I have one other question for you all. So those of you that you said you are currently stressed, what stress management techniques do you currently use? Ooh, good answer so far. Music, yoga. Somebody said clean. I need that person to come over to my house, please. Sleep, eat, and cry. Oh, I love somebody's answer, time with grandchildren. Very nice. I want to thank you all for participating in this poll. I just wanted to get a sense of different ways that you all currently handle your stress. And I'm sure Lisa is going to cover some of this or a lot of this. So thank you again for participating. I'm going to go ahead and close the polls now and turn the mic back over to Lisa. You're set.
Okay. Well, thank you for participating in the poll. I saw a lot of good answers, and I saw some of you that said, yes, you are stressed with a lot of exclamation points. So that's something that hopefully we'll be able to give you some ideas to help you to deal with your stress. And then some of you that put down some of your ways to deal with stress are things that I will cover, and some of you had a lot of very good answers. So that is just really good. So we'll go ahead and get started. Obviously our title of our program is Stress and How Do I Know If I'm Stressed? And I thought this graphic or this picture was pretty good. It's kind of like, good morning, let the stress begin. And I think a lot of us can feel that way at times. But if you think about it, life is full of ups and downs. So there's probably going to always be some type of stress in your life at some point. And stress can be a response to a situation where you need to make a change or take action. So sometimes stress can be good, and sometimes stress obviously can be bad. So if we think about it in the relationship of two complete opposites, like if you think of a death in the family, obviously that's stress that is bad, and we have to act in certain ways with that. But then if you think of a real joyous occasion of a new baby coming into the family, maybe it's your child or it's a grandchild or niece, nephew, whatever, that is a very happy time, but sometimes that can also bring on stress just in a different way. So there are all kinds of stress. So what I thought we would do is talk about some of the warning signs of stress. And this is highly individual, so it just depends on an individual person as to how they deal with stress and how they identify stress. And as we said, stress is obviously can be a motivator for us to make change. But I divided it up into 3 different categories. So we're going to talk about physical signs of stress, emotional, and then behavioral signs of stress. So first one is physical signs of stress. And a lot of these I'm sure you're very familiar with. But one of the things to remember is you need to be aware of change. So a lot of the times we have, maybe you drop down there, you see headache. A lot of us have headaches, but it doesn't mean that we're necessarily really, really stressed. But you need to think about how severe is it and if it is a change. So sleeping problems, that's I think a real popular one. And that one is, where you cannot sleep at night, or maybe you wake up in the middle of the night and it's hard for you to go back to sleep. Changes in appetite. And sometimes I think people deal with stress, either they overeat or sometimes they just quit eating. So you kind of have those 2 different things in relationship to appetite. Shortness of breath, headaches, a lot of tension headaches, muscle tension, where if you feel tense in your neck or your shoulders, things like that. Racing heart rate is another one. Fatigue, and a lot of times that can go back to sleeping problems, but it can also be related to the fact that you're so stressed or geared up throughout the whole day that you just feel exhausted from that. Back pain's another one, stomach problems, and a lot of times if you do have some of these physical situations, it leads you more to be prone to illness. So you need to watch out for that as well. Emotional symptoms of stress, I thought we would talk about those a little bit. So worrying frequently, where you just seem to be worrying quite a bit. Anger or anxiety, where you can kind of fly off the handle real easily, or you just seem to be angry at everything, can be difficult. Difficulty making decisions. Sometimes you feel so stressed that it is hard to know, where do I start to solve a problem, or how do I make a decision? And that can be very difficult. Unhappy for no reason. You can't really pinpoint why you're unhappy, but you just may be unhappy. Easily upset, where anyone says something to you, you get emotional or you get upset. Nervousness, where you just feel nervous quite a bit. Feeling of powerlessness, where again, that's kind of where you have difficult making decisions, where you feel like you just don't know what to do. You just don't know where to start if you're very stressed. Couple others that I thought of after I got this all put together, but denial of problems or the situation, where you don't realize or you deny what is going on. Depression, loneliness, fear, those are all can be problems of stress, so you need to be aware of those as well. To behavioral symptoms of stress, again, difficulty concentrating, so work or whatever, if you have difficulty staying on task or concentrating. Over and under eating, we mentioned that before, but that is a very common cause of stress. Snapping at people, where you just don't have the patience that maybe you should. Neglecting appearance, where you maybe feel so overwhelmed that you neglect to take care of yourself individually. Crying easily is another one. Avoiding responsibilities, again, that kind of goes back to the denial, that you're avoiding trying to take care of things or just those responsibilities. Could also be withdrawal from family and friends, and that's something that you need to be aware of, that could be another symptom of stress. And then just feeling very overwhelmed, obviously, is another example of one of the symptoms of stress. So with all of those said, and some of you might not have any of these symptoms, or you might have others that you could think of, feel free to let us know what those are. But I thought we would talk now about how to manage our stress. So just steps that you can take or tips that you can use to help you to manage your stress. Because as we said, most of us have stress, so we can talk about ways that we can deal with that. So our first one, it says, don't blame yourself for things you can't control. And I think this is a good one, because you cannot control other people and you cannot control events a lot of times. So you need sometimes to just accept what it is that you cannot control, and you just need to move on. So acceptance can be a big thing to help you deal with stress. Be aware of your stressors. So think about what triggers your stress. So what are your stressors or your triggers? And so that you can be ready for those. It can help you to deal with those different situations. An example I thought of is traffic. If you get very stressed when you're driving around in heavy traffic, maybe you can just be aware of that and you can just try and calm yourself down. Or if you can adjust your schedule and you could travel when the traffic is not as bad, or maybe take a different route to wherever you're going, and maybe you can say get off the highway and take the side roads. That might be helpful for you to deal with stress if that is one of your stressors. Our third one on the slide, it says back off and take some deep breaths slowly. And this one can be very helpful if you're dealing with a work situation or a family situation. Sometimes you just need to leave the situation. So literally get up and leave the room and maybe walk down the hall, go outside, get some fresh air. Just remove yourself from the situation to give yourself a break and give you some time to take some deep breaths, to breathe in slowly and try and calm yourself down. So that can be very helpful. Share your struggles with a friend you trust or respect. And this one is a good one. Don't keep your stress all bottled up inside if you can. And if you have a friend or even a family member that you trust and respect, share with them. And a lot of times it helps to vent. We think we shouldn't do that, but a lot of times it does. Just if you vent and get it all out, you're going to feel better. Sometimes just talking it through with a person can make you feel less stressed. And sometimes you can think about solutions, or your friend could help you with solutions to what the situation is. And sometimes if you work through it or talk through it, it may not be as bad as what you thought initially. So that's another way to deal with stress. Practice how to deal with major stressors in your life. So sometimes if you think about, kind of have a plan and know what you can do with different outcomes. So say that you have a situation, say with family members, and it's kind of difficult. You're working with parents, siblings, children, and you know that it's going to be a difficult situation. Think about what could be the possible outcomes and try and work through solutions to those outcomes. So if someone says this or is resistant about one thing to do, maybe you can come up with ideas of how you can work through that. So that can help with stress as well.
Lisa, I have a quick comment before
okay.
you. In the chat box, somebody said you suggested to walk away and take a deep breath, and then someone suggested that it could backfire and make you look weak in front of other people. They know that they can press your buttons if you walk away instead of finding ways to swallow it temporarily. Do you have anything for that, or do you want to address that?
I think that's very true, and I didn't think about that. That could be an interpretation, but sometimes I think if I think sometimes you have to think of what's best for you, because if you don't walk away, then would you tend to get in an argument or blow up at the other person, and then it might make it even more difficult in the long run. So I guess in a way it depends on you, it depends on the people that you're dealing with and the situation. But that's a very good point. I hadn't thought about that.
I hadn't either.
So thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. So we'll go through a few more tips as well. Laugh often, and this is something that is so important. Studies have shown that people who laugh, it does lower your blood pressure, and research has shown that. So if it can be a real stress reliever. So if you can find something that is funny within the situation, it can really help you reduce stress. It can help you kind of step back. And sometimes it's not until you're done or the situation's over that you can go back and find something humorous or something to lighten the moment. So if you can find something to laugh about, that can be very helpful in a stressful situation. Learn to say no, and it's okay to take care of your own needs. So a lot of times it's important to set boundaries. So if you're setting boundaries at work or at home, with family, with friends, a lot of times that can be difficult, and especially I think at work, if someone is asking you to take on more responsibilities or things like that, that can be hard to step back and kind of say no, but hopefully you can work through those situations. Making sure that you take care of yourself, so things that you enjoy doing, to have some kind of me time. Some people I think put in the chat box that they get massages, which is good. That's a good way to kind of take care of yourself. So it's important, again, to try and set those boundaries with work and at home. Exercise regularly and get plenty of rest. So exercising in anything that you like to do. So if it is walking or if it's riding a bike, yoga is a really good stress reliever. So hopefully you can pick an exercise and it's something that you will continue to do, and you will do it often and make that time, when it goes back to, kind of taking care of your own needs, make that time to exercise. Because I know a lot of times it's like, well, I'll go for a walk if I get this, and this done, and then by the end of the day, I don't have time to go for a walk. So that's an important thing to do. Making sure that you get plenty of rest. And with people having difficulty sleeping, that can be a problem. But if you try and have that downtime, it gives your brain time to kind of regroup and re-energize. So it helps you to deal with stress, because you're going to be more alert and everything to deal with it the next day if you have that time to rest. Don't be overly demanding on yourself and on others. So a lot of times you need to be realistic, and you need to be realistic in the expectations that you put on yourself and that you put on other people. So it may not be a perfect situation, but sometimes it has to be a realistic situation that you're going to have a solution for your stress or for the situation. Our next one, write in a journal or do a craft. I think sometimes just writing in a journal, it gives you that opportunity to write those words and just get them basically off of your chest, and just it can be very therapeutic to do that, just to write things down. Doing a craft or a hobby, that can be very beneficial because it can take your mind off of the situation or the stressor that you have. So doing things like, gardening. I think one person said that they like to read books because you can have that kind of escape for a while. You could read a book, you could do gardening, knitting, crocheting. Someone mentioned cross stitch. I just saw that pop up. So that's a good one. Things that you do with your hands can also help you to prevent you from overeating. If you get stressed and you have to have something to do with your hands, if you can do that. And someone just mentioned coloring, and that's one I had on my list to talk about. Coloring is very popular now for adults, and I actually have a program on coloring that I do, and one of the research shows that it does tend to lower blood pressure. It can lower your heart rate. It can help you to de-stress. So coloring is a good thing. It kind of takes you back to that time when you were young and you didn't have a lot of stressors, hopefully. And that can be a good thing. So coming up with some kind of craft or hobby that you enjoy doing can be a very good stress reliever. It kind of gives you a break in the day-to-day things. A few more that I came up with. Eating nutritionally and cutting back on caffeine. So a lot of times you have to make sure that you're eating nutritionally. Some people just tend to, if you're in a very stressful situation, you eat on the go or you don't have time to prepare foods. But if you can try and maintain a good diet, that's going to help you with your stress and help your body to stay healthy. A lot of times you need that comfort food. And I say, that's okay to eat that macaroni and cheese or that chocolate cake, brownie, whatever it is that you need. But then just watch your portions because you don't want to overeat. So just kind of be mindful of that. And one of the things, I put the MyPlate on here as a graphic. And if you go to their website, you can get a lot of really good information on eating healthy. There are recipes on there. There's all kinds of information in relationship to diet and also to exercise, which can be very beneficial for you. And then cutting back on caffeine, because caffeine can make you feel more nervous, and that can kind of give you the jitters. So depending on how your body reacts to caffeine, you might want to watch that as well as to how much caffeine you're taking in. Take one day or an event at a time. So sometimes if you break things up into manageable pieces or steps, it can be a lot easier for you. So if you know that you have to do something, plan an event, if you can break it down into manageable steps, it's going to be a lot easier for you and you won't feel as stressed to doing those kinds of things. And this kind of goes along with that. Practice time management. So if you're at work and also at home, think about time management. So again, like making a list. I'm a list maker, so I make a list and I get a lot of satisfaction from crossing things off that list because I can tell that I've accomplished something. And that can be a good stress reliever because you have a kind of a plan as to what you're going to do. And then as you cross those things off, you have those accomplishments, and that can be very good. Time management for yourself, so make sure that you take time for yourself. And social media is another one that I think sometimes can take a lot of our time. So if it's a lot of us have our emails on our phone, and you could literally answer emails day and night. But sometimes it's important to have that time management where you say, okay, after a certain time, I'm not going to answer emails. Or you set aside a time during the day to go through and answer emails. So that can be very helpful. Social media, I think, sometimes can be good and bad, because sometimes if you're on Twitter or you're on Facebook, whatever, that can be a stress factor where you're maybe not getting the things done that you need to do, or something could pop up with the social media that's going on right now. Something could pop up that could be very stressful for you. So a lot of times it's important to think about that. But I think sometimes social media can give you a break. And sometimes if you look at certain sites that you enjoy looking at or reading, that can help you with your stress management as well. Our next one, practice meditation or listen to music. And I think some people put that in the chat box, that they like to meditate. And it kind of gives your brain that mental vacation. So if you need to meditate just for, say, 5 minutes, you could sit at your desk, kind of shut your eyes, think about like your favorite place. If you like going to a beach, think about that and the waves, and just, kind of put yourself there for a few minutes. Do some deep breathing, and that can help you with stress. Also, doing meditation programs or listening to tapes, there are a lot of those that you can do. And that can be a very helpful way to start your day, to finish your day, or just to try and do them maybe during your lunch hour or something like that can be very beneficial. Listening to music, again, can help to calm you and be a stress reliever as well. And then the last one on here, it says, you can control how you respond to a situation. And I think this is very important, because you may not be able to control the situation or the people that you're dealing with, but you can control your thoughts and your responses. So that's something to keep in mind, that you can control how you're going to react to a different situation or a stressful situation. So I have some stress. Looks like something happened to my slide there. But stress management rules, the rule number 1, and I'm sure you're familiar with these, it says don't sweat the small stuff. And rule number 2 is it's all small stuff. So a lot of times you just have to, again, put things in perspective and realize that, tomorrow's another day. Things are going to get better. Tomorrow it may not seem to be as bad as it is on the actual day. And then another slide I have, I thought this was cute. It says, if the word stressed, if it shows, putting it in a blender, jumbling up the letters, and it comes out to spell the word dessert. So if you use the same letters, you can spell dessert with the word stressed. So sometimes, we said that stress can be a good motivator. It can help you, motivate you to change. But sometimes if you just look at the situation differently, it can help you with stress. So this might be a good one to, put this on your cubicle or put it in your office, to just kind of give you that visual reminder that, stress, can be looked at differently and in a different way.
Yeah, I need that reminder.
Yeah. And then this is just my contact information. If anybody has any questions or comments and they would like to contact me, feel free to do so. And then I also have my sources from where I got the information for this program. So I don't know if you want to open it up to comments or questions, or
they've been pretty much making comments. Let me kind of go back to some that okay, somebody suggested that Pandora has some awesome comedy stations. Thank you for that. I didn't know that Pandora had the comedy stations. Somebody agreed planning ahead can reduce stress.
Okay.
Somebody has a monthly planner and a daily, has helped them feel prepared and less stressed about forgetting things. Somebody said watching ferrets play is a good stress reliever.
And I didn't even mention that, but I think having pets is it can be a really good stress reliever because your ferret, your dog, your cat, whatever, they're going to love you no matter how much stress you're in. And sometimes just petting them, playing with them can be a very good thing to help you calm down. So that's a very good one. Yeah.
Let's see. Somebody mentioned about meditation. It said something about they sit quietly and their brain is still screaming at them. A couple people feel that meditation, I guess, just sitting and being quiet does not work for them. Let's see.
And I think sometimes meditation can take a while to kind of get used to that. So maybe if you listen to a tape that was a guided meditation, that might be helpful for you to kind of turn off your brain for that time and just listen to a guided meditation. That might work.
And then someone made a comment that walking as meditation might work.
Right, that would be very good as well. Yes, exercise can be a very good stress reliever. Some people do like kickboxing, and I imagine that could be a very good stress reliever. So doing, those type of things can be very helpful.
And again, somebody mentioned swimming laps
Okay.
as meditation helps them.
Yes, that's good too.
So does anybody else have any questions or comments? So no, we got done a little bit early today. Or if you want to just continue to give us suggestions on what you use to cope and manage your stress. I like what you said about the journaling, because that just really helps a lot.
Yes, I think journaling does help, and sometimes you can go back and read through it, and then you can, maybe come up with a new solution or just look at it in a different light. I think that can be very helpful.
Oh, okay. Someone asked, are there tips on sleeping better, like going to hold on. Are there tips on sleeping better, like going to sleep easier?
Some of the things that I've read suggest that you turn off doing any screen time, meaning computer, your phone, the TV, that you stop any of that, say an hour before you get ready to go to sleep, so that your brain has time to kind of relax. Maybe listening to music, making sure you have a comfortable pillow and a comfortable sleeping arrangement can be very helpful. That your room isn't too hot or too cold can be helpful. So a lot of times that just little things like that might be able to help you to relax. And again, if you kind of meditate before you go to sleep, that can be helpful as well.
Someone has a question. What if you have tried most or all of your suggestions, but none of it seems to help?
Well, in that situation, and sometimes you do need additional help. So talking with someone, talking to your doctor, your healthcare provider, a professional, they could probably give you tips to help you to deal with stress as well. So a lot of times you may need to take it to the next level to get additional help with stress. And it's something that you should not be ashamed of, and just move forward and take their suggestions.
And then someone had a comment, which I really think is a good comment. Biggest one I would say is, do not try to do everything. Even if you feel guilty for it, feel free to say no or ask someone else to handle something.
And that is very true, that you don't have to do every single thing. So if in a situation like if you're dealing with something with family members, say with aging parents and you have siblings, divide things up and have one sibling take care of one thing, someone take care of something else. the things that you're good at or that are easier for you to do and that you have time to do can be very helpful. So, and I think a lot of times for especially females, we feel like we have to do it all ourselves, but we don't. So a lot of times, and it can be hard to give that up and to not have that control or feel like you have to do everything.
It's a good
So,
one.
mhm.
Another comment, someone says, I think stress has recently started causing me night terrors. Does anyone have a suggestion of how to deal with those? I also don't sleep well at all.
Those can be very difficult. I would, excuse me, I would suggest probably sharing with your doctor, your health care provider, and see if they can give you suggestions to deal with the night terrors and not being able to sleep as well.
Someone asked for advice for how to communicate with you, an unsympathetic supervisor or manager that you are feeling overloaded at work.
So communication can be a big thing, and I think if you use I statements, so if you use your assertive communication skills, and sometimes, we don't want to come across as being too demanding or whatever, but if you're assertive in the way that you use the I messages, I feel overwhelmed in this task because of this, or I feel I need additional help to complete this task might be helpful. Just letting them know how you feel and use those messages. Don't be accusing, but just use those messages of how you're feeling and use, like I said, using those I messages.
Let's see, some suggestions. Some folks get out of the building for lunch.
That's a good one. Yes,
Mhm.
taking a break and change of atmosphere can be good as well.
See, another says, make sure you have some sort of life outside of work, even if it's just regular hanging out with your friends.
And hanging out with friends is a good thing because you can, kind of be yourself and you don't have to be on guard or whatever, and you can just really de-stress in that way.
And let's see. Someone else said that they keep lots of plants on their windowsill at work, and taking the few minutes to tend to them or water them gives you a moment or two of peace at work, and looking at them brings them joy.
Very true. And that's good. And if you have situations like you can decorate in your office, I know some companies might have rules or things in relationship to that, but if you could put up pictures that you enjoy, candles, a lot of times we can't have candles because of the open flame, but if you use a candle warmer, sometimes that can help you to deal with stress too.
Oh, this was a good one. Somebody said that they use their 2 15-minute breaks to walk around the second floor where their department is located. They can walk up to 1.7 miles every day by doing this, and it gets them off their duff and away from the screen.
That is very good. Yes, to take that time and to get up and walk around, that gives you those added steps. And that can be a stressor too. If you have a Fitbit and you're monitoring your steps all the time,
Yeah.
and then if you can't, you stress because you don't have your 10,000 steps. But if you do just take a 5-minute break and get up and walk around, that's gonna add up to your steps and just to help you clear your head as well.
And someone said, in the morning and evening, view the heavens. An evening view, the heavens gives a great perspective of who we are.
That's very true. Very, very true.
And then someone gave advice for the unsympathetic boss. Keep your head down, don't mess with them too much, and take your 2 breaks and get out of the building for lunch.
Okay.
Somebody said that they like to listen to rain and ocean sounds. They're very calming.
Yeah.
Yep, that's my favorite. I love listening to the ocean waves.
Ocean, right. And you can get tapes, or you can probably, I'm sure there's apps on your phone that can have different sounds that you can listen to, that can help you to relax as well.
Somebody said YouTube has hours-long recordings of sounds like that too.
Okay. Yes.
And another one is getting out in nature, especially early morning and at sunset, is very relaxing and calming.
Yes, I think, yes, that is. Going for walks, if there's a park close by, or you have a lot of places to walk around here by the canal, that can be very helpful as well.
Yeah, this one's so true. True statement. If you find yourself in a stressful situation, remember that the only thing you can control is your own reaction to the situation.
Right, very true.
Okay, looks like the questions have slowed.
All right, well, I want to thank everybody for coming today. I hope that you all did get a lot of good tips out of this. I know I did. We appreciate all your advice, your tips, and the things that you use to deal with stress. As Lisa mentioned, if you do have any questions, her contact information is on the screen. And again, if you do have any questions, just reach out to her. And again, thank you for attending today. You will receive your LEUs for today's session within 30 days. And again, this was recorded, so you also receive the link. So again, I thank you, and I hope you all have a great, peaceful, and stress-free rest of your week.